Rashee Rice in some trouble. We did a live stream on this already weeks ago. People are behind on this topic. We've been preaching caution and talking about how this could unfold. This is not new. This has been out for weeks, but people are starting to talk about it today. Well, if you follow this channel, you already know what's going on, but new news just broke minutes ago on the Rashee Rice situation as Rashee Rice and his attorney respond to the allegations against him. What does the response mean? What's the confidence level that Rashee Rice will avoid a suspension? What is the confidence level that you can trust drafting him at all this year, let alone expect missed time from a guy that's still on probation that got 6 games for his last situation? The Fantasy Football Show begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not new information. We've talked about this for weeks. And everybody, I got DMs like by 5 different people like an hour ago. I got emails. Smitty, did you hear the news about Rice? We've already broke this. This is not new news. But what is new that just dropped minutes ago via Adam Schefter on X right here, I will read to you. This is a response from Rashee Rice's attorney. And for those that don't know, in a nutshell, Rice is being accused of domestic violence that dates back to 2023. Abusive behavior, all these different things we'll go over again in a minute just to summarize. But the statement from the Chiefs wide receivers attorney, Sean Lindsay, goes as follows. On October 9th, 2025, well after the parties' relationship ended, Ms. Jones stated under penalty of perjury in a sworn affidavit for non-prosecution that Mr. Rice and I had a verbal agreement or argument, but he did not punch me. End of quote. We will allow the legal process to run its course and have no further comment at this time. So what this response is doing is putting Mrs. Jones in a bad light because, and I'm not saying not deserving or deserving. This is not my opinion here. I'm merely presenting the facts. Presenting her in a bad light, contradicting what she said happened on a certain occasion where he had laid hands, and in her affidavit under penalty of perjury, which is the attorney's reminding her of, that you're saying this happened, yet in the statement under penalty and perjury, you said it didn't. This is not good for her case as of this moment. This is one simple thing, but it is something that you can almost kind of say has some legs to it in terms of this thing maybe turning out to be something that it doesn't appear to be at this moment, in a good way for those that own Rashee Rice. Look, we're in the business of fantasy football, okay? So I'm going to talk about this from a perspective of what is good for your fantasy football team. If you can't handle that and you're like, look, Smitty, there's bigger issues at play. Like when Hamlin, that situation went down, I was the only person in here chewing gum and walking at the same time. The entire industry was like, football is not important right now. I was able to do both. I was able to say prayers up. We had more people in that live stream, I think, than any live stream we've ever had. It was like 5,000 people in my live stream, the entire show for over an hour and a half or something. And we were the only ones going, fantasy's still important, Steve. Fantasy football is still important. It's my job. This is what I do. You'll never hear me come out and say, this is bigger than fantasy. This is bigger than football. Nothing's bigger than football or fantasy to me. So no matter what's going on, we'll chew gum and walk at the same time. So yes, we're having a conversation about your fantasy team, my fantasy team, all of our fantasy teams, the best ball value of Rashee Rice. All of this is important to us. We can chew gum. We can say things are, this type of behavior, if it is in fact behavior that he's participating in, it is wrong. Of course it is. And honestly, I don't know that we can trust anything that Rashee Rice says, but it's not necessarily about that. It's what can be proven. At this moment in time, there's a mixed bag of reactions that I have and instincts I have and gut instincts as to how this will play out. And I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know how this is going to go down. I think that what Rashee Rice's attorney is establishing here is pretty good foundation for something that I feel like could go away. The only real hang up here is that Rashee Rice is currently on probation for 5 years. And some of the allegations, as you can see, December 23 through July of 2025, that falls within the confines of him getting in trouble, being put on probation, being told by a judge, you better not slip on a banana peel outside without picking up the banana peel, setting it in the trash, because the moment you step on it, it becomes your property and you're littering on the sidewalk and you're on probation. So this man's walking on very razor thin, paper thin ice. And so if anything comes to light between 2023 and 2025, and I want you to take a look at this man right here, the man who crashed a vehicle causing a $1 million plus pileup on the freeway, leaving a mom and a child stranded in a vehicle, injured. Thank God it was not a crazy series of injuries this guy caused, but without even checking on the mom and kid, this man, like a coward with his entourage, ran off the freeway like a coward and ran away. And look, this is business here. I still drafted the hell out of Rashee Rice last year. We still promoted Rashee Rice as a value because of all this, because we chew gum and walk at the same time. This isn't a place of principle where I'm not drafting this man, but he still was a coward on said day. He ran away from an accident where a mom and child were injured in a vehicle. Okay? And this man, I don't trust. I don't believe him. He's cried wolf too many times for us to be going to bat for him. But what matters is what can be proven. What matters is what this looks like to the league. But I'll tell you this, there are concerns because, as I said, he's on probation. And if anything that's being accused of him is true, locked her outside in like almost negative degree weather or minus, or it was like 12 degree weather or whatever the hell the report was, locked his baby's mama with the baby, accusation, not proven, outside and made her stay outside. Who knows if it was 5 minutes? Who knows if it was actually the door was locked? She locked it, closed it, and he was in the bedroom not listening. And he's like, you locked yourself out. Like, who knows how it really went down? Two sides to every story. But pictures were released since deleted Instagram posts where she said, I've had it. I'm done protecting him. The reason we think she was protecting him was because she was hopeful that eventually she would get the child support that he's been massively behind on. Reportedly, he has not paid X amount of child support, hasn't taken care of her. Is that true? We don't know. All that's going to come out in evidence against him in this situation. But if any of it is true, he locked her out. He did strike her at a different time, put hands on, whatever the case may be. If he did anything that warrants some serious punishment, and it doesn't appear that there are any sort of arrest records or any police calls or whatever right now anyway, but if there's anything that pops up, he might violate his parole on one situation. Just one. So you got to, instead of sitting here, a lot of people's reactions will be this. This is what a lot of people, well, where's my megaphone? Here it is. A lot of people will say something along the lines of this.
Smitty, but here's the thing. Like, everybody accuses these players of things, and they're innocent until proven guilty, Smitty, correct?
No. In the court of law, yes. In the eyes of the NFL, no. The eyes of the NFL, you can go on the commissioner exempt list paid on something like this. Domestic's different. Alvin Kamara roughing up somebody with his entourage at a casino in an elevator, that's different. Let's let it play out, see how it goes. Deshaun Watson's situation, as bad as those cases were, they wait, let it play out. It's different in many cases. When it becomes domestic, a whole different can of worms is opened up. That's why in some of these cases like Quinshon Judkins and Isaiah Bond, who both, as of this moment, we don't know for sure, because just because something falls apart doesn't mean that there isn't truth anywhere, or sometimes there's zero truth. But when those things end up occurring and someone calls up the police and says, hey, so-and-so put hands on me, they go, okay, yeah. We were dating. Oh, it's domestic. It's domestic. Domestic turns it into a whole different can of worms. Now the DA, the district attorney, is required to look into it. Domestic abuse is treated differently than another form of domestic or abuse or any kind of situation. It will be looked at. She can't dial it back. This isn't, oh, they'll settle. If the DA who gets involved says something needs to be looked at, we need to see if we need to prosecute, then it's out of the accuser's hands. They can't say, never mind, I'm sorry, he's going to pay me. He's going to pay me off. So never mind, pull it back. The DA's like, nope, you're not in charge of this. We're looking into it to see if we need to prosecute. Now, the interesting thing about the DA and how that works is if they can't have a home run slam dunk case, they throw it out because they don't want to lose. They don't want to spend the state's money and go after a long, drawn-out process and take a W or take an L, an embarrassing L, so the DA won't pick up things if there's any questions or cracks sometimes. That's like in the Deshaun Watson case. When they didn't pursue Deshaun Watson on all those 20-plus counts, everyone said he's innocent. No, not necessarily. The DA won't pick up something if they think they can lose. There are so many different dynamics at play. A lot of people will come out here and tell you this and that. Oh, don't worry, it'll be a slap on the wrist. Those people don't understand. They don't have the knowledge that this show has when it comes to these situations. We've covered it. I've done this for 20 plus years professionally. Radio 19 straight. We do this better than anybody. We collect, we absorb, we digest. We know what's going on. And everybody else here is going to talk about it from one layer and one level. There's so many different layers to this in different ways it could go. There is a track record that the NFL has of having a heavy hand one moment, unpredictably heavy, and the other moment having a light hand, unpredictable light hand. Aldi, appreciate you in the live chat and over on Rumble. And guys, subscribe to Rumble if you haven't already. That link is in the description of the video. Also, I just dropped the hoodie right here, the one that I'm wearing right now. If you guys want to pick that up, I'll pin that in the live chat right now. I'll pin that link right this very second. There it is. It's pinned. If anybody wants to grab one of these hoodies, that link has been dropped in the live chat. I love this hoodie. This is the best. I think this is the best hoodie we've ever made, and I think this thing's amazing. Look at let me model it for you real quick. Let me just show you what this thing looks like. This is the new hoodie. It's up. The link is pinned. I'm loving it. I'm digging this hoodie. It's got the headphone logo, the Fantasy Football Show logo, the YouTube URL. It's all done up pretty well. I love it. Very comfortable, very warm. Go get it. Copy one. Links in the YouTube Live and the Rumble Live. At the end of the day, guys, this is my assessment of the situation. There's a strong chance Rashee Rice gets put on the exempt list paid. The paid aspect is the important part. Goodell can put him on the commissioner exempt list paid at any moment, especially when domestic domestic violence is involved. And so it's certainly a possibility. The only thing that would make Goodell not go in that direction would be that they're doing their own independent investigation. The NFL always does. They're like the Vatican. They have their own system. It's like they live in their own world with their own laws. And they'll definitely, what would happen if there was evidence in it doesn't have to be evidence in a court of law. They don't have to let it play out. Domestic, the commissioner and the league do not need to let it play out. The criminal charges of a speeding situation, Rashee Rice's, accident, that all is where the commissioner and the league have a tendency almost 99% of the time to let the legal process play out before they determine or render a suspension or discipline. With domestic, it's very, very, very different. Sponsorship dollars, everything tied to it. Look at Rashee, or look at Ray Rice. Look at all the other situations that involve domestic violence. They will literally rapture Rice off of the roster, put him on the exempt list because he's not found guilty or innocent yet. They'll put him on paid leave. That way, from a legal perspective, they're saying, hey, we're not taking away your money. We're not taking away your money. We're paying you. You just need to go take care of this. And when it's over, come back and we'll reinstate you, or whatever the case may be. The moment he ends up being guilty or innocent, this thing goes a different direction. If he ends up being guilty, paid leave turns into something else. He ends up just being on leave on the commissioner exempt list, unpaid. And that's where that goes. The league is doing their independent investigation and information gathering. They've been doing it for months. This is not new. We broke this news a month ago, weeks and weeks ago, and people are breaking it today as if it's something new. The reason that it's new, and I was going to go live on it or talk about it at 8 p.m. because everyone's talking about it. When people are talking about stuff, I realize regardless of whether we've already covered it or not, if I'm seeing massive interest, then we got to cover it because obviously not everybody knows about it. But the reason that we're here immediately live after this tweet literally broke, I went live 3-4 minutes after. We're here to discuss the response from Rashee Rice's legal team. Again, saying that after the relationship ended, Mrs. Jones stated under penalty of perjury in a sworn affidavit that, quote, Mr. Rice and I had a verbal argument, but he did not punch me, end quote. And so this is being released to contradict what she's alleging happened in some of her major points of this lawsuit and situation. So things don't look good for her because under penalty and perjury, she already said something didn't happen. And one of her bigger points against him is saying that it did. That's where this thing is. His legal team has got a good grip on this situation. I'll tell you that right now. But if any of it, like I said, he's on probation. If anything that she's alleging he did, if he did lay hands another day, and there's evidence of that, if there's a witness that he laid hands or did something, there's a chance that his probation's violated. And that's a massive situation. Who knows if it's jail time or what could come down. Now, a lot of people are going to say things, like I said, a lot of fickle Freddies are people that don't know what's going on. They just assume they have one layer of information. They hear it from another show that says something like this. I don't know much about this, but I'll tell you this. I know. We know about it. Don't worry about them. We know about it. We'll talk about it. You only need to come here anyway. But there's a serious concern that even if 95% of this is fabricated, not saying it is, not saying it isn't. But even if Mrs. Jones fabricates 95% of it, what is the 5%? All there has to be, because this relationship ended in July 2025, he's on probation when this relationship ends. When relationships end, there's usually the worst of it is at the end, right? Is the worst of it in the middle, and then they break up, you know, in a real nice, polite way? Or did in this like January 2025 to July 2025 timeframe, did something happen that is documented, that as a witness, that puts this man in violation of his probation? That is the concern and question. I'm not sure I'm worried about any of the other pieces of this because it sounds like there's a lot of holes in the story. Maybe not. I'm not judging. I don't know. We don't have the details of everything yet, but we do know that there's some contradictory things going on, and this is bad for the case. But what is going to be revealed in the discovery of this thing, if there's any sort of information that gets discovered and put out in front of the DA, with a man on probation for 5 years for being a coward and running off the freeway and leaving a mother and child injured on the freeway from your own fault, your own doing, do I trust this man? Absolutely not. Has he earned a little, even a lick of trust from anybody watching right now? Zero. Do you run away from him? So the fantasy football implications need to be discussed. Do you run away from him? I don't know. I don't know that there's an answer here other than his ADP will drop. His cost of entry will become less risky. There's a lot of evidence that the NFL has a less heavy hand usually, but this guy's coming off of probation. Also, the very important factor here is what's the last penalty this man was handed? He was handed a pretty stiff penalty of 6 games. If you remember, everyone was saying he'd get a slap on the wrist and get maybe 2 to 3 games. It wasn't 2 to 3 games. It was a 6-game suspension. So while it's very easy for everybody to come in here and say the NFL will slap his wrist, they didn't. They just gave him a very heavy-duty 6-game suspension. That is a massive number of games. That was well over the expectation. So if anybody thinks the slap on the wrist is headed his direction, the league might have sat him down and said, we're not going to be lenient next time. 6 games this time. Next time it's a full calendar year. That's the only thing you need to understand here is this is not slapping the wrist territory. This is a guy that just got handed a stiff 6-game suspension. So there's concerns here. If I'm sitting there and Olave's there, I'm taking Olave over Rashee Rice. If I'm sitting there looking at a player like let's pull up a mock board here and just go over this situation. If we're talking, of course, lamb chops, we're talking let's remove the first round and third round considerations and just say you're sitting there staring Brock Bowers in the face of Rashee Rice. You take Brock Bowers and you don't think twice. You got a rookie running back, an exciting rookie running back in Jeremiah Love staring you in the face in the second round. Guess what you should do? Draft Jeremiah Love over Rashee Rice. You're sitting there in the second round. You're looking at a Ashton Genty. Get out of here. You're not even making sense if you're going to argue anything of the sort. You're sitting there in the second round, and James Cook, who many think deserves to be in the first round, and sometimes he is. You take James Cook, that's a no-brainer. That's not even almost worth discussing because he does have oftentimes first-round value. You're sitting there looking at a Marion Hampton in the second round. You grab Hampton over Rashee Rice. If Hampton or any of these guys fall to the third round, you're grabbing them over Rashee Rice. If we go wide receiver shopping and we say you're in the second round and you're staring at a JJ who's got his own concerns, you're taking JJ over Rashee Rice. It's not even close. Nico over Rashee Rice, not even close. Drake London over Rashee Rice is not even close whatsoever. Let's dig deeper. Olave, already told you. Olave over Rashee Rice, not even close. George Pickens we're taking over Rashee Rice. It's not even close. Guys, if you're even considering, it'll be a slap on the wrist. Don't risk it when you're considering those players. That puts Rice in third round territory. And then we ask the question, do we take him at all in the third round? At all. 0%, 100%, 50%, 20%. Is round 3 risky? It's got its pros and cons. There's no real answer here. I'm digesting this live. There's no real answer here. Where do you take him? Drop it in the chat. Third round, do you do it? Drop it in the third round. And if we have some sort of indication that he will be out a significant amount of time, then guess who the Chiefs are drafting at number 9 overall? Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon. The Chiefs aren't going to leave Mahomes coming back from an ACL tear without a wide receiver. Where do you take Rice? Does anybody take Rice in round 3? Do you take him for sure in round 4? Who's avoiding him altogether? Dial in to the...
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Answer your phone calls in order in which they are received. So we've got a lot to discuss. Your boy's instinct here is that I don't sniff the second round cost of entry. I don't even go near it. I don't explore it. I don't think about it. I don't daydream about it. I don't dabble in it once. Out of 100 drafts, I'm not touching Rashee Rice in round 2. but he will fall. This news is, it's weird that he hasn't fallen yet because we already broke this down. We already did the live streams on this when the information came out, but we're the only ones that go live when news breaks. So guess what? A lot of people who have been kind of checked out of football, they have no idea that this situation is going on. They thought that this is brand new today. They're like, people going, Smitty, are we concerned? I DM after DM from people saying, Smitty, are we concerned here? Where have you been? Like, that's not my fault you check out. You should be here at 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, for at least the first 10 minutes of the show. You do that, you will be caught up the entire offseason. There's not an 8 p.m. show where we don't discuss the biggest piece of news or the top 5 pieces of news or whatever. You have only yourself to blame if this is new information to you, because I'm live at 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, doing a news show. The 8 p.m. show is a news show. And we already knew about this information. And we're going to have a lot of Tyreek Hill to KC. What's that look like? I've got another at 8 p.m. or before. We got more Rashee or more Tyreek Hill news. Some of you guys daydreaming on this Tyreek Hill situation is weird to me. $20 hauler BBQ. And I'm not saying the Chiefs don't go after him in some capacity, but Tyreek Hill is not likely to be ready for week 1. I'll go over that later, but he's probably having another surgery. Which he said on a live stream, I believe it was last night. We'll cover it in a whole different live stream, probably the 8 p.m. show, like I said, or sooner. But Tyreek Hill admitted while he was gaming and live streaming on, I think it was Twitch or on Kick, and he was live streaming, and he said, yeah, I'm going to need another LCL surgery. This guy's got nerve damage. The LCL needs some more work. He had a knee dislocation, an ACL tear. This is a mangled knee for a guy that requires speed work, that is over the age of any age that you're banking on a receiver for, coming off an ACL tear with likely hamstring injuries to be his future. And hamstring injuries accompany ACL tears, so he's in real trouble. Irregardless of his past discretions, he is innocent until proven guilty. Let the law work before we convict him in a court of public opinion. In my opinion, outcome will be determined which direction the Chiefs will go in the draft. Unfortunately, this is probably not going to be resolved before then. So the Chiefs are going to have to make a determination to go in a direction before they even have the ability to. And he's innocent until proven guilty, but the league does not look at it like that. So regardless of how we want to say it, I agree with you, and I say this all the time, there's too many unreal, fake, false accusations against males, females too. I'm sure it's up to some levels. This is not just toward the males, but it is obviously predominantly against males. But the Isaiah Bond situation, the Judkins situation, both had their careers derailed on things that completely fizzled and fell apart, and then the league just waited, all the teams waited, and literally their careers, Judkins might have a chance to rebound, but he just suffered his big injury. There's already people that wonder about, the amount of time he'll last in this league, and now you have that on top, still that hanging over him a little bit. And Isaiah Bond was the maybe 3rd or 4th best wide receiver in the draft class, and he went undrafted. It is a shame. At the same time, though, I agree and disagree with some of what you said, BBQ, because I do judge him for his past transgressions. I do judge him because it requires my trust. It requires my trust to trust in him as I'm investing draft capital, putting hard-earned money on the line to play fantasy, and put this man on my team and trust that the accusations are false when he's given me zero reason to believe they're true. His past transgressions do affect my judgment of whether I believe him to be innocent or guilty in me investing my fantasy football draft capital in, because I don't trust him. I don't trust a man that cowardly runs off a freeway and leaves a mom and a child injured in a car while you have 5, 6 able-bodied people in your entourage that could race over and help all the injured, and you all run off like cowards. So I'm just saying, and I agree with 90% of what you're saying here, especially on a grand scale. Somebody gets accused of something and they have no sort of history. And I'm not saying you convict a man off of that. He's innocent till proven guilty. Thank God for our country. Okay, so he's facing no legal ramifications until that innocence or guilt is proven in a court of law, which is absolutely fantastic that our country has that going for it. But when it comes to Kruger, not now, when it comes to me having to make a judgment call and advance him my trust, and I'm going to draft him and assume that all this will fizzle out and it's all false accusations, he's worn out his welcome for me to extend him that courtesy. So that's where I disagree. But I agree with 100% of the innocent till proven guilty, because we see it happen time and time again to these young men. They are getting accused of these things and there's either a money grab or something going on. And it's awful. It's absolutely awful. But I will say that the difference here between a money grab situation and this one is that this is his baby's mama. You know, like this is not some fling that's trying to money grab him. This is a person he's been with, that has a child with, that has said, and these accusations will be proven in court and in the discovery, that he's not even paying her anything, that he's leaving her, out to dry. And while it's two sides of every story, that could easily be he missed a payment, and like we don't know. But the fact that this man's proven what he's proven to us, do you believe that some of her story's true? I do. Not all of it, but this man ran away from an injured mom and child. Like, you think he's going to care about other people? So that's my judgment against him. And I certainly am not investing anything close to second round. And in third round territories, we go back to the board here. Talk about a third round pick for Rashee Rice. George Pickens probably goes in 2 a lot of the time. Olave's been going in 2 a lot of the time. London in 2. Nico in 2. JJ in 2. Hampton in 2. Genty in 2/1. Love in 2. Bowers in 2. We haven't touched on anybody here that's third round worthy. So if I dig into the third round just a little bit and I say to myself, am I drafting? I saw some say Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's, he's got his own question marks. So I don't know that he's a total lock to be a guy you draft over. Right, Rashee Rice is probably getting pretty close. I think where we start looking to talent at the third round level over Rashee Rice is we say, well, what about Chase mother freaking Brown? How about we draft a top 6 to 7, 6 to 8, maybe 5 to 7 running back over Rashee Rice, who might miss some time? I'll take that every time. How about Bucky Irving, who gets Zach Robinson, who just called Bucky Irving his new Bijan, because Zach Robinson, as the OC in Atlanta last year, gave Bijan Robinson 800 receiving yards, 1,400 rushing, 79 receptions, double-digit touchdowns. And his first words out of his mouth when he lands in Tampa as the new OC is that, yeah, I see Bucky and Bijan in the same light. Regardless of how true you believe that statement is and comparatively laugh at it, whatever, Bucky's going to get fed. Give me Bucky Irving over Rashee Rice every single time. Give me Breece Hall, who I almost guarantee you doubles in value the moment, if he is in fact tagged and traded to KC, tagged and traded to the New Orleans Saints, tagged and traded to the Washington Commanders, because I don't see this team paying Hall what he wants when they have no team anyway. So these guys are all absolute locks over Rashee Rice. I don't even know. So we're breaching bottom of 3 or mid-third to bottom of 3 before I even consider drafting Rashee Rice. Now, if Rice is going at 3.12 like clockwork, yeah, guys, at the back-to-back picks, I'm telling you right now, that's my measurement. That's my line in the sand. Line in the sand is a thing that your boy coined in the business, I don't know, 15 years ago. And people copy in different ways. But line in the sand is basically, here's the third round, here's the fourth round. So where's the line in the sand for Rashee Rice? I just told you, when you get to like 3.10, 3.11, that's where that line in the sand is. He goes from an avoid, flips into a total guy I can invest in at that territory. So the line in the sand for me is most certainly going to be this end of round 3 when Hall's gone, Bucky's gone. But the line in the sand is certainly below every one of these players that I just mentioned. Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, Pickens, Olave, all those guys are above the line in the sand 100% of the time. That line in the sand is right about here. And whenever I'm talking about a flip of the 3-4 bookend picks, Rice being my near 4th drafted player, sure. Rice being my 3.10, sure. Every time, hell no. Because he's on probation for 5 years and is involved in this very, very complicated situation that is certainly going to have the NFL, who just gave him 6 games, no slap on the wrist. That was way more than we expected. A 6-game suspension. The last time that league talked to him, they said, no, 6 games, son. And we all went, wow, that was a heavy disciplinary hand down by the NFL. What makes you think they're in the business of slapping Rashee Rice on the hand lightly? There's no evidence of that. We just saw the opposite. Phone lines are open. Dial in. Travis, you're live, and then I'll go to the other phone caller. Travis, you're live.
Hey, what's up? So just a couple quick things. I'll let you get to the other callers. But first of all, like with Tyreek Hill, my thoughts on it was always, if they know, Rice is going to miss time, maybe they go after him. But the more you think about it, even injury aside, they may steer clear of that just because, guilty or innocent, he's got a history of domestic violence accusations and drama and all that. So they may just steer clear of that for that reason alone. But with Rice, I think the reason why people aren't panicking is because they see the words like civil suit, and he hasn't been charged with anything yet. And while I don't agree with it, I'm not touching him. I think a lot of people, it's unfortunate, are to the point where it's like, girl who cried wolf type of thing, because you see it.
And it sucks that we're even to the point where we even have to question that, because
100%.
As a human being, your natural reaction is when someone's accusing someone of abusive behavior like that, you almost want to defend the innocent, right? But in terms of the one accusing, like, hey man, that's no one should be laying hands on a female ever. That's a cowardly act. But we've seen so many false accusations to these young men that are starting their career, and it gets derailed, and there's no recovery from it. Isaiah Bond he could overcome it, but he'd have to really figure out how, he's been put in a position where it's hard for him to even get his feet on the track to do the race and to try and prove himself. But yes, when you bring to the table stupid behavior in your past and you're on probation and you're still getting yourself messed up in this situation, even if it's 90% exaggerated, there's 2 sides to every story. Oh, he locked me out of the house. And then you could just see Rashee Rice going, it didn't lock her out of the house. She locked herself out of the house, and I left her out there. And you're like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, totally understand that one.
I smell meatloaf.
Yeah, she slammed the door. She threw the keys at me and then slammed the door and goes, wait a minute, I'm locked out. And he's like, that's your fault. Like, there's 2 sides to every story. But the problem is, he's coming to the table being a complete coward on probation, leaving a woman and child. Thank God they were okay. He'd be in prison right now if that mom and child didn't end up being okay. The people that don't understand the difference in charges from that wife and child being okay versus not being okay was the difference between freedom and playing football after a 6-game suspension. And so you got to take into account how crazy lucky he was that he didn't injure anybody severely, or he would be in prison from that driving situation.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, like, most of these teams, whether it's with, private investigators or they just know because they're much closer to the situation, know, kind of what to expect with these situations in terms of like, did he do it or not? Now, who knows what the NFL is going to do. But for that case, you also start to wonder, okay, the Chiefs probably have a good idea, is this guy likely guilty or not? And so, they could decide anyways, no matter what, we'll let this play out, but we're not giving him a huge extension.
Or we're gonna
draft someone.
Yeah, or the more I'd say prudent move would be, if he ends up being amazing, which we think he's capable of, obviously, and he goes crazy, amazing production, and you get to a point where you have to franchise tag him, then you just keep tagging him, and you say, look, you didn't earn our trust to be a long-term deal, but we love what you're doing, bro. Keep it up. Here's a tag. Here's the franchise tag. And you just keep tagging him. Like that's what you could do, and then you draft Tater Tyson or Mekhi Lemon here at number 9 overall, and you protect Mahomes, who is coming off of a ACL tear. Or you grab Jeremiah Love here, and then you're confident in Love worthy the risk of Rice. You also grab a Denzel Boston or a Casey Concepcion or somebody like that later. Or you bring in a Mike Evans to make sure you stay afloat. You bring in Tyreek Hill, which is certainly going to be a possibility. And I'll tell you more as to why that's not going to be fantasy football lucrative. I'll do a whole live stream on that. He requires another surgery. Let me read these super chats real quick, Travis, and I'll let you finish your point, and then I'll go over to Bruce, who's waiting on the phone line.
Yep.
Where is Worthy's ADP, and would you take him at his ADP? At his ADP, yes, I would. But do I expect big things? Look, being healthy, hopefully this year, he's a smaller guy. There's arguments that Devontae Smith is staying healthy at that smaller frame. Tank Dell didn't. Worthy hasn't. It's tough to say, how this is going to shake out for Worthy and how much of a value he is. He's better in best ball than he is redraft, because best ball, you don't have to decide what games to start him. And I think he will be sporadic. So he's a great best ball wide receiver. He's a shaky redraft wide receiver, but I have some feelings of upside and some concerns. But it depends where his ADP will maneuver after this news, which has already been out there. Like I said, it's just being reported strongly today, and people that don't know what's going on are like, oh my God, you hear the news? It's like, bro, this is so old. This is a month old. We have people that call on the phone line and say, wait, why'd you say Rashee Rice is a risk? Is something happened with him? Like, it's weird that no one's 8 p.m. Watch us at 8 p.m. You'll get everything you need to know. You want to take the offseason off? Fine, but watch the first 10 minutes of every 8 p.m. show. Speed through it. Put it on double time speed. I do feel, how do you feel about him? I think he will bounce back, have a bounce back season, because he's finally got the surgery and he needed it in week 1. Possibly. I do think there's upside for sure. I like Worthy at his cost of entry. Whether it climbs into a place I don't like it anymore, that's to be determined. Based on underdog ADP, only receiver I may take Rice over is Burden. Taking Ladd, I would too. Wilson, Flowers, Devontae Smith. I'd take Rice over Devontae Smith and Flowers right now. But maybe not every time, because I'd go Breece Hall or, I'd go these other players that fall, and I just go, never mind, I'm doing that. But if we're talking about me ranking these for everybody in general, I would say Ladd, of course, I'm taking over him. Garrett Wilson, I want to, and I probably would, but I'll be honest, there's huge concerns there. Who's throwing him the ball? And having to make this call now, I can't just play it safe and go, depends on, I hate when people tell people that. It depends on who's throwing to him. Well, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't able to wait on that information, Steve. I can't stand when people in the business say, well, yeah, do you like Rashee Rice? Yeah, it depends on the situation, and if Mahomes is healthy, and if an earthquake doesn't happen, and if the world is still revolving. You have to make the call right now. Right now, making the call, I want to lean Wilson over over Rice, but I don't know that I'm there on the consistent. I probably rotate that one. Well, Wilson's quarterback concerns and team concerns are as heavy of a concern as Rice's off the field concern. Like the risk is probably equal right now. If and when Wilson gets, let's say Malik Willis lands on roster, then I am excited and that goes away. But we're having to make this call now. And Wilson doesn't have his huge glaring risks alleviated. So,
and all these guys are like a round to a round and a half past Rice and ADP right now. That's the other thing though. Like Rice's ADP is 26.2. He's right in between Nico and Olave.
Yeah, it's just way too crazy. Pat redid contract as well. I broke today. I told you guys that was next. I said that for days. I said Patrick Mahomes is reconstructing his 450 10-year deal would happen to open up money, and it happened, and they announced that today. So,
they opened up $43 million in space.
We've called pretty much everything this offseason so far. Is the hoodie light or heavy? Well, I just took it off because I was sweating in here. But I would say it's not heavy, but I'm in Arizona. So a little different. But no, it's not heavy. It does feel pretty light. It's pretty warm though. Like I think it'll keep you warm. It'll warm you up pretty quickly, but it's not a heavy duty thing. No, not at all. That link is in the description. The hoodie's awesome. This Dynasty Superflex got offered the 2.2 for Woody Marks. I had the video up where I say nobody but Nico in Houston. Offensive line's awful. Offensive coordinator's awful. One of the worst in the league. I can't believe they kept him. So at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you to take 202. But I did go against my advice right away last night because in the draft we were drafting last night on Underdog, there was I went Breece Hall and who are my two running backs? Javonte and Breece Hall.
Breece Hall, Javonte.
And then I went wide receiver heavy. I went quarterback. I went Gadsden, and then so I didn't have a third or fourth running back. I took Woody Marks. I forget Benson, Woody Marks, Pacheco, Vidal.
Yep.
So that was Woody was good in that situation and in best ball. So my answer to you is in best ball, when you don't have to decide when to play Woody Marks, it's got a lot of good value. He still does. In Dynasty, non-best ball, bro, you're going to be pulling your hair out trying to decide when to bench him. And then when you bench him, he'll do well. His offensive line's allowing him to get hit in the backfield by 2 and 3 defenders before he even has his hands fully on the football. Like, it's not his fault, but he's not going to thrive there. Not to mention maybe they draft somebody. Thank you guys for the super chats. Appreciate Jonathan, Charles, BBQ. BBQ's a monster. BBQ stock is on the rise every day. BBQ still in here? Strollin, Nichelle, appreciate you, and Husseini, and then everybody over on Rumble, appreciate you. Bruce, you're live. Then over to Travis.
Hey, Smitty. For me, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm not touching Rashee Rice within 1,000 feet because last year, I got him at a value with a 6-game suspension. If I was drafting right now and they were like, here, you can get Rashee Rice in the 3rd or 4th round, I'm like, no, I want someone who's playing. I physically know is going to play all the time. Like, I don't have to worry about a looming suspension. I know injuries happen, but a looming suspension.
Yeah, I mean, the end of the day, anybody that wants to argue the NFL will slap him on the wrist. The only thing I can tell you, the only thing I can tell you is what in the hell do you base that on? Previous actions by the NFL with other players and situations, maybe, but name a domestic violence situation with the baby mama, not some random person we don't even know if they actually dated. You know, it's like Isaiah Bonds and Judkins situations. It's like we didn't know who those people were that they were accusing him. How connected were they? How long did they date? Is it, how much should we trust? This is his baby mama. And then on top of that, he literally just served a 6-game suspension, which was more than the projection by far. It was, 3, 4. It was some thought 2. Some people thought slap on the wrist. 6 games is no slap on the wrist. And that comes with the obligation of the league and warning of the league that the next one will be longer. And so when you talk about a 6-game suspended player who's told you better not be in the news again, you put the NFL in bad light, and you talk about a domestic abuse situation that goes to the DA. This is not settled outside of, this is what the people that just, like I said, they cut off a sliver of this and start talking about it. It's deeper than that. Domestic becomes a problem. The DA gets involved. This gets investigated. Now it could get thrown out because the evidence could be thin. And just like I said here, Rice's attorney and his team are on top of it already. Like, this is a 3D chess move against Jones's legal camp playing 2D chess or checkers. Because inside this woman's accusation and lawsuit involves a big part of this situation that she, in a affidavit and sworn testimony on penalty of perjury, says didn't happen. So, like, his attorneys are playing 3D chess already, which is good for his case. It's good for fantasy football owners, and I don't mean that callous, because there is a big situation here that's, you would say, like I said, that bigger than football, sure, but we're not going to not analyze it because football is a big deal. It's what I do. You're never going to hear me go, yeah, this isn't a big deal. This is more important than football. No, you'll never hear that from me. The two things can be equal at the same time. This is a big deal. It's a big situation, and there's a lot of negatives, that we need to look at and not just talk all football, but we have to react. And this is really good for the Rashee Rice camp. This is 3D chess by his attorney, but we also have a league that told him, you better not be in any trouble again. And you could say, well, but bro, this happened before, and she's dragging it into the forefront. You better hope that's the case. If Rashee Rice comes to him and says everything that happened before I got put on probation, if that's the case, he's in pretty good standing. If anything happened, anything
at the front door
happened that's documented or potentially, in a situation where it's documented and there's evidence, there's some sort of witness, then we're in massive trouble here as Rashee Rice owners. Massive. Because even if there's just a mere witness or some sort of situation gets proven, to be the case, well, like he locked her out and there's evidence of it, and him and his baby and baby's mama were locked out, and there's some report that we don't know right now that's in front of us, like, the league's gonna be like, bro, you just did that? You just did that after? So there's that concern.
That's
Do you guys have a line in the sand that if he had this many games suspended, I'm just not touching him?
No, because once that line there'll be a line in the sand, sure. But once we're given a number, then we know what we're playing with. Like if they come out and say, okay, 6-game suspension again, then at least we can be like, okay, that means that I'm drafting him in round 6, round 5, 6, probably. Because we have a finite number. It's almost riskier to draft him, period, without the number, because it could be a year. So I think you settle in on something once we know, but I don't know, bro. This is messy. This is messy. Again, today's news, the breaking news today, not the Rashee Rice situation. We broke that like a month ago. The breaking news today is what I went immediately live on as soon as it was out from Adam Schefter, is the response from his attorney. And this bodes well for the Rice argument. We'll see what happens.
That's why I thought, did you guys see what Chris Jones tweeted and cheated? I think that's why people are getting really high on Tyreek coming back to the
it certainly
Chiefs,
could.
Chiefs players are playing or tagging them and saying, "Hey, Cheetah, come home! Cheetah, come home!"
Yeah, and it certainly could line up, but he's gonna have another surgery, and anybody thinking that that's gonna end amazingly, I would caution you to not put too much into it. If you want to draft him in a league, that's fine. Depends on where Hill's value is. If he starts climbing into some ridiculous territory, I think his ADP is right around what, 10? Around 10? Something like that. Let me pull up his ADP. Rashee, or not Rashee Rice, Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's ADP.
Oh, I think 13.
Okay, so let's call it 11 to 13 ADP. If that climbs into like 7, like no way. If he's in KC at 11, 12, 13 ADP, I'm fine with that. But the problem is the moment he signs, he skyrockets. So unfortunately, the ADP is too high given the stakes, and it will probably trend in that direction to where it's like my line in the sand. Once this like if he signs with the Chiefs, then his current value I like round 12, 13, 14. Maybe. I don't even love it. I just like it. It's sure. Okay. Yeah. But the problem is that new landing spot triggers it to jump, and I'm still standing in the same place going, wait a minute, never mind then. If you're going to move the goalposts for me, I'm not in. Tyreek Hill is going to have another surgery. I'll go live on this earlier. I didn't want to go too much on it now. It'll be the 8 p.m. show. But Tyreek Hill is going to have another surgery. He's not going to be ready. And if he is ready, he's going to get injured.
What about Hill or Hunter at their ADP? If Hill goes back to KC?
Hunter.
Which is a big Hunter?
Yep. All right, Bruce. We'll see you at 8 p.m., bro.
Yep.
All right, Travis, final thoughts. I'll be back at 8 p.m.
Yeah, so obviously this statement is like in response to them filing the civil suit.
Yeah.
And I think it probably creates, good, public sentiment for people who just react to things because, like I said, people see the civil suit and go, oh, it's just a money grab. And then they release this with, evidence of nonviolence. But again, that's, October. That was after the relationship is over. So, you still have to deal with all the stuff going on in the relationship. And like you said, if witnesses or something come forward, and if there was domestic violence, I can almost promise you there are, witnesses that'll testify on her behalf. Now, whether they're good witnesses or not, we don't know. But almost always with real domestic violence situations, you see, that they've confided in people while this is going on or after. And then there's also text messages that they've saved and sent to someone to hold and, all types of stuff.
So photos,
real situations that they, start to eventually try to get out of it.
Yeah. And photos don't do anything because you can't connect them to anything. Like they're in the case of, I think it was the Judkins and Bond situations. Yeah. There are photos involved.
Very specific timestamps.
The photos didn't end up translating to anything because they couldn't tie it into anything. There was no evidence other than just these photos of bruising. Photos don't mean anything. And so if she didn't file any police report, if she didn't send, even if she sent a photo to her friend and it's date stamped and said, look what he did to me, it's hard to say that even still come back because it'd be like you could just take a photo of something, send that preemptively and plan something like that out.
Right.
So there still has to be some sort of police report or some sort of evidence that can be brought forward or a video of something happening. And honestly, the way that this legal team is attacking their lawsuit, you're going to put the beefiest part of your lawsuit or your details in the lawsuit. And it sounds like if we don't have it now, we're not going to have it. Like we would know that there's video evidence. We wouldn't have his attorney carving up the lawsuit in one response right here. We would probably, so my guess is there isn't a lot of evidence. And that's going to bode well for Rashee Rice. The only thing that people still need to be cognizant of is that this league is all about perception. And while they might completely blow off Alvin Kamara's situation, and they might completely blow off this or that, the things that are important to the NFL, they don't blow off. Domestic is a big thing. The gambling is a big thing. And so they certainly will look at this differently than they would for somebody like Bond or Judkins, where it fizzles and goes away, and then they just say, never mind. But with this situation being on probation, they're still, even if this thing went away, they could still say there's enough evidence here to suggest that you did do things that they're not pursuing legally or can't win in a court of law, but you violated the agreement we had that you would stay out of trouble. And because you put the NFL in bad light and we have to deal with any of this right now, 2, 3, 4 game suspension, like those things can happen. The NFL can do whatever the hell they want. This is not innocent till proven guilty in the eyes of the NFL. It is in a court of law. It is with your freedoms. It is with all that. And thank God it is. Again, we live in America. It's amazing. But the NFL can absolutely do something with the investigation details that they drum up. They do not have to wait for the legal process to play out, but they will before they hand down the ultimate decision. So what that means is the NFL will either do one of two things: put him on the commissioner exempt list paid, and then once it's all played out and he's frozen, he's in purgatory, he's getting paid, but he's unable to go to the facility, attend practice, do anything, play a game. He's on the commissioner exempt list paid, awaiting the determination legally. And then once the determination is made legally, then the NFL will hand down the discipline on top of that. Not time served or anything. It's like you're suspended a full year now, or 6 games or 4 games, or not at all. But if they don't feel like the evidence would go in that direction, which honestly I'm 50-50 on, given the fact that the biggest response from the legal team is this one, which is a really good one. And we're not getting the sense that there's any sort of video evidence or anything. My guess is that we're probably looking at a very shaky case that the DA may not even pursue. And then it's up to the NFL to say, did you do enough based on our findings and our independent investigation to make us pissed off? And you're on probation for 5 years. You know, we told you to stay, clear of all this, and you didn't. So will the NFL still respond? They still certainly could. They just handed the man 6 games. That was not a light, suspension. Like they're not in the business of trying to tap him on the hand. They obviously don't care. Not to mention the Chiefs feel like they're kind of falling out of favor in the commissioner's eyes. Like everybody says, it's all about the Chiefs. It doesn't feel like that anymore, guys. I think that time is over.
Yeah, that happened with the Patriots too.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, just so the one thing I was going to say was, I think either way, I think it is kind of prudent for them to draft a wide receiver at 9. I mean, they could go Jeremiah
or Mike Evans,
or Mike Evans, something like that. That could, cover the. But if they draft someone at 9, that for me the dream scenario would be draft someone at 9, trade for Breece Hall. But
yeah.
Either way, on top of this, the domestic stuff or crime, whatever you want to call it, legal problems. He's only played 12 games the past 2 years, and a lot of that was due to injury too. And so, that's another thing you have to start to consider is, okay, now he's had multiple injuries on top of it.
Yeah.
And so it really feels like they could, just do the franchise tag type thing when his contract's up.
Yeah, I would.
Unless this all goes away and everything clears up, but I don't see that being like.
He stays, keeps his head on straight and ends up earning something. You're not even pressed to do anything. You just say, sorry, man, you're going to tag you. But we'll see how it goes. Husseini just ordered a hoodie. Awesome. Appreciate you, bro. And then Evans to KC, no chance. No, I just, like I've said over and over, I think Evans to KC makes a ton of sense because he would love to play with Mahomes. I can tell you that right now. B, it is kind of ability to ring chase there for sure. And then C, if they draft Jeremiah Love and bring in Evans, that is such an ideal combination. Yeah. And it's certainly a good KC move, because if they still are invested in Rice, this could just solve their 1 year, gap or vacancy or whatever, if there is an issue. If anybody wants to give me my guesstimation as to whether this becomes anything at all, like, does he skate by all of this? And even if skating by is not the right word, and it ends up being he's innocent of all of it or whatever, which I highly doubt he's innocent of all of it. There are two sides to every story for sure, but there's clearly a toxic relationship between the two, and that causes problems. And especially with players that are they're hitting people for a living. They have tempers. They definitely I believe are more susceptible to being baited into certain things. So, like, to defend Rice in any way, shape, or form of being involved in any sort of crazy situation, it's I'm no way defending him at all. I'm just saying that there are going to be a lot of situations that these players get drawn into. Things get out of control, and for somebody that's on probation with a 6-game suspension, he just got handed. He's the last person that should be putting himself in positions where he can be baited, he can be agitated, and make some small but very impactful, stupid decision. So, all right, Travis, we'll see you at 8 p.m. Got to go. Later, bro.
Yep, thanks, Smitty.
All right, whoever's on the phone, Landman, 10 seconds, Landman, because I'm on the way out the door. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man, no worries. Enjoy the pizza. Listen, Rice is done, unfortunately. You can't go back-to-back with the NFL. They've got to, worry about the appearance and all that stuff. So it doesn't matter. They're going to come up with, he's not pristine, and he's got, unfortunately, and it sucks, too, because he's got talent, but, what are you going to do? So you think he's getting what then? Even if, let's say, this ends up becoming a lot lesser accusation, and let's say I think the water's absorbed in it, and it's already burning on the
what's your prediction?
Fire. He's done. He's not coming back. You can't.
You think
the
he's
NFL
done?
Can't do it.
You think he's completely done?
Yeah. The NFL's gonna exit stage left, because he's got
exile.
You also have
It's possible. It's possible. I mean,
I don't see it. I don't see it, and I had him, and because he's a talent, and I had, and the only thing he's got in common is Kelsey took him out, and he also took out the other wide receiver. So it. Anyway.
I don't know. I don't know if I get the sense he's done, but
yeah, you can't write this PR script. You think about it. You cannot.
If
this go.
if the claims though are not solid, and this goes away in the court of law,
it's a 70-30, Smitty. It's a 70-30, Smitty. So it's preponderance of evidence, not likelihood of innocence. It's here. It's you can't discount her. You can never accuse the victim of.
I know, but in the case that this doesn't end with a, this is the way I see it. If there's, like I said, any evidence at all that this man violated probation, he's cooked. He's absolutely cooked. If in fact,
they're going to find him.
But if in fact, there's the possibility. If in fact this is a, nutbag, situation that he has on his hands, where it's like, you guys don't even have a clue what I'm dealing with this sick, and it is truly that kind of situation, which we don't know. I believe that he still did something that's going to potentially have the NFL to act. But if he didn't violate his probation between the time he was put on probation and, let's say, a lot of the negative stuff on this relationship was before that time, and her claim is they stopped dating in 2025 because they got together one night or something where he was weak, she was around, it's the baby's mama, something happened, and he's like, I haven't dated her since 2023 or whatever. Then I could see this thing not going in the negative direction. I think there's still a chance. But there is more of a chance that this thing gets very, very bad than I think people are going to admit. And some of that is people that are loud about it. They own rice in 3 leagues. So they're in the comments going, he'll be fine. He'll skate by. Slap on the wrist. That is somebody that owns rice in 3 leagues. I think that there's a chance for both to play out, though. It really comes down to what gets determined. And the NFL, they can't kick him out of the league forever if this all ends up being fabricated. So that's what it lives on. It's the legitimacy of these claims and what happens. But he most certainly along the way will violate some sort of verbal agreement he had with the NFL in terms of staying out of, their hair and putting the NFL in bad light, because it's all about putting the NFL in bad light. I feel like there's certainly a fine line to where this thing flips into the point of no return for him, and he's exiled out of the league, like you're saying. But I think regardless, he's brushing up against some sort of suspension. But we'll have to see.
In rhetorical terms, look at Andy Reid and see what he says. I guarantee you he's going to be quiet. Okay? He's not going to make any comments at all.
But he didn't with
the end game.
Yeah, but he didn't, a lot of these teams, the Saints were the same way with Kamara. They're like, let it play out. It's none of my business.
Yeah.
We'll see. Domestic's different than the Kamara situation for sure. Domestic
when
is
you're domestic.
The DA gets
when you're
involved.
Domestic, different level. You've got to prove yourself innocent to the nth degree.
It is, but if the DA doesn't pursue it, like if this thing gets, then it's a whole different, can of worms in terms of like NFL. The NFL is not exiling him if it doesn't get picked up like at that level, because then there's no evidence.
The only bailout the NFL has is saying we're going to let the judicial process work through the system and everything. We have a system set up that handles that. So in the interim, we're going to go ahead and let
which will happen.
Play.
Yeah. Which will, but hold on. Again though, hold on, layman. Which will happen if in fact the DA doesn't pick this thing up? Like I said, the moment if you call 911 and you say, landman, no, I won't use you. Bill, this is Susan. Bill put hands on me. And they go, okay, yeah. And you go, we're dating. Oh my God, this is domestic. Boom, they hit the button. Alarms, bells sound. It's a totally different monster with domestic. So, in the case of that, if there is actually domestic abuse, the NFL will handle it entirely different. So, we'll just have to see. If the DA does actually look into this and there's evidence to pursue it, she can't dial it back. He can't dial it back. They can't settle. People say that, they'll just settle. No, there's no settling. It's domestic situation. The DA is going to look into it. And if there's evidence, he's cooked. If the DA says there's nothing here, then the NFL will be in that kind of tug and pull with him about, like, we told you, you still got into this mess. Your DA's not pursuing this. Obviously, there's a lot more made up here than there actually is, but because you did do this, because there is evidence, we're still suspending you for 6 games. We told you to keep your nose clean, keep your head up, and get out of trouble. So there's 2 different levels. If the DA pursues this and they go ahead and try him because they have evidence of abuse, he's cooked. But that has to be there for the NFL to exile him, in my opinion.
Smitty, let me tell you something. All these DAs are politicians now. So they always try and say, well, we found some evidence, but we didn't find enough evidence that we would get a conviction. And we didn't want to spend the public money, blah, blah, blah. So they all hedge their bets. But none of them ever want to accuse the accuser of falsehoods. They don't do it anymore because they've got to play that political game. I don't know in the jurisdiction where the case is being filed if it's an electable office for the DA or if it's an appointed office. That's a big difference. So I'm just saying that there's all kinds of, politics, behind the scenes, local, the NFL, and that. But again, I'm not going to draft him. I can't.
I don't blame you.
Unless the NFL says a definitive thing, says, hey, we're going to let the process go through the court system, and that's what we're going to follow as the barometer of whether he's guilt or innocent, unless they say that, and they're not going to do it.
The thing is, like I said earlier, when I broke down the whole situation with the DA, if the DA can't win the case, they won't move forward. It's like the Deshaun Watson situation. People acted like Deshaun Watson was innocent when the DA didn't pursue each case individually. They look at it, they go, we're not pursuing it. They look at it, we're not going to pursue it. Every one of the 22 to 24 cases, the DA looked at it, examined it, did not pursue it. And a lot of laymen's out there that didn't know what they're talking about, going, yeah, they already said he's innocent. They didn't say anything about innocence. They just said, we don't think we can win this case. It wastes the state's money. We're not moving forward. But it's very telling. Now, the NFL, like I said, they're going to have a discovery of evidence that they have, and they will make their own determination. And before the legal process plays out, like let's say the DA is looking into it, they're not sure if they're going to pursue the case or not, then what's going to happen is the NFL, if they believe they have the evidence, they know this is bad, they will immediately rapture him and put him on the NFL exempt list paid and await the legal process to play out. If the DA's like, there's nothing here, then the NFL still might have evidence in their discovery and their investigation, which they probably already completed. The NFL is like the Vatican. They have their own system. They're already pretty much made a determination. If the NFL feels that even though the DA is not moving forward, they have something, they'll slap them again. But I don't think it'll be exile unless this thing blows up, because there's nothing they could stand on to exile them forever. If the DA's like, there's nothing here, that's going to be a big win for him. If this thing is not getting picked, if it just becomes this lawsuit and that's all it is, and they're literally like, there's nothing here. The police, the DA, there's nothing to pursue. This is going to be did he violate this? Did he do what we said not to do? If so, we already warned you, Rashee Rice, not to get involved in something like this. You did. We're going to give you a suspension, but it's going to end there.
The key.
So it just will come.
He's already been adjudicated once. I think even though Deshaun Watson didn't miss he was Mr. Robert Kraft times 100. He didn't miss, that. I think it all came sort of collectively, and everybody came forward at one time. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, he wasn't adjudicated for one, suspended, and then all of a sudden they had another case. That he had never been basically adjudicated for one thing. Rice has. Even it's unrelated. It's a traffic accident, which that's another conversation. But for our conversation, to keep it short, he's been adjudicated as a bad boy here, and it's going to be hard for them now to sit there and look the other way again. And unless the evidence is shaky and the NFL can't even stand on it. That's what I'm saying. Is if this thing ends up having no legs, you what? I love your thinking. It's an optimistic way to do it, but you got too much PR and too much politics involved in this decision making, and I think what happens is, instead of looking at it as the legalese of like, hey, is this guy guilty or innocent, and we got to give him that thing, I think he's judged in a different format. I think he's looked at as like, you know what, we gave him that chance. And, he's on probation, and he didn't handle his probation too well. And even though he's not being charged, there's just too much stuff here that again, we're going in circles. I agree with you if there's evidence, but if the evidence falls through so badly, and like I said, his legal team's already taken the first strike back, and this is a 3D chess move because it's completely tearing down her case, essentially. Again, I'm the most negative person you're going to find that's reporting on the Rice thing. Most people are like, I don't know if anything will happen. We'll see. But I'm given a pretty harsh, judgment here. But I'm just telling you, in my opinion, if the evidence is not there, and there's a chance it's not, if there's no evidence to back up all of the things that she's saying, and the fact that the legal team just tore down her biggest argument and saying that what you're claiming in your lawsuit, you're under penalty and perjury saying didn't happen.
So like there's a chance that there's nothing the NFL can really lean on other than you got yourself in a bad situation again. We told you not to. Here's another 4 or 6 game suspension. And that could be possible off of the putting the NFL in bad light again, because the NFL is all worried about that. And it's domestic and they want to make a statement. But if there's no evidence to pursue this thing from like a DA perspective, even if there's something there, but there's just not enough, it's going to be hard for the NFL to make a drastic, crazy exile him from the league decision if that evidence is not there. And right now it appears that some of her biggest arguments are being destroyed here. So that we'll see what happens, but there needs to be some witness or some strong situation that arises. Maybe they're holding back on, but I doubt it, because I think everything in the lawsuit is probably pretty straightforward as far as what they have as evidence. And it's going to probably...
Their iPhone text messages, that's how it's going to be. The forensics are going to be electronic. So I guarantee you there'll be some kind of like back and forth.
Probably.
Because when people go on their text message and they're pissed off, they have no filter. And that's how he's going to get busted. I guarantee you that's Exhibit A, Exhibit B. But anyway, always good to
if something comes out where it's like, what I did last night, I'm going to do again, then he's cooked. But that stuff has to happen, or there's nothing, unless they can prove it. There's nothing that you can't just say, oh, she said this about you, and we're going to go ahead and suspend you again for your career. Like, I just don't get the sense that it's going that route. But I will tell you that if he does skate by, and I say skate by, even on a suspension of a smaller amount of games or the same replication of games from last time, this guy doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to stay out of trouble. And before we know it, we'll be back here on something else. Like this feels like unfortunately, and I'm a Dynasty Rice, or was a Dynasty Rice connoisseur. This guy feels like a temporary player. I don't feel longevity with Rashee Rice. I can't, like Travis said, he's played 12 games or whatever. I can't envision him shaking free from this and becoming a model citizen and playing consistently for years and years and years. This feels like Kadarius Toney. This feels like every receiver that the Chiefs have had as of late. They can't develop receivers. They have the worst luck with wide receivers. And right now, this feels like this guy could have been good story. This feels like Josh Gordon. This feels like the Kadarius Toney situation. It does not feel good from a Dynasty perspective. I'll say that. I got to go, Landman. Appreciate your call. Call in the night at 8 p.m.
Got it, man.
All right, later, bro. Rumblers, appreciate you. Appreciate Landman. FDX, appreciate you. Aldi, HK, thank you, pal. Aldi, thank you, everybody on Rumble. Hit that like button. We're about at 4K on Rumble, which is exciting. And you need everybody to go over there and subscribe over on Rumble. All right, we'll be back at 8 p.m. Appreciate all of you. See you in about an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. Deuce. Hit the links in the description. Support the channel. Appreciate you. Live at 8 p.m. Eastern every single Monday through Friday. Live whenever big news breaks, like this show right here, and live at midnight Eastern most nights.